Tonight I'm gonna tell you the story about the Cinderella. Are you ready to hear me? Are you ready?
Yes! Today we are going to tell a bedtime story. How exciting! I know how exciting bedtime story is. Now let's close up the curtains and go to the bed. Come on.
Hi guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel lagi guys. Hari ini aku punya tugas untuk bacain cerita sebelum. Iya, ini kan opening. Jadi aku hari ini mau bedtime story sama Jenis karena Dede udah bobo. Yuk guys, kita langsung bedtime story karena kebetulan aku juga udah ngantuk banget, udah lelah banget nih. Walaupun ini tuh masih sekitar jam 7 dan jangan lupa di subscribe ya guys, terus di like dan juga di komen.
And look guys, there's bunnies.
No, come on, naik.
Guys, come on, I will show you how fun bedtime story is. Now let's listen and go to the bed.
Okay.
Come on, let's go over there.
Kakak bobo ya.
Mommy, tell us.
The story is a Cinderella story. Sambil bobo ya kak.
Okay.
Once upon a time, there lived a girl called Cinderella. She was happily lived with her father and mother until her mother died. Dad and her father had married a widow with 2 daughters. Her stepmother didn't like her one little bit, but for the poor unhappy girl, there was nothing at all. Her stepmother has 2 daughters and they were very bossy. No rest and no comfort. She had to work all day. Only when evening came was she allowed to sit for a while by the fire, near the cinders. That's why everybody called her Cinderella. Cinderella used to spend long hours all alone talking to the cat. The cat always said, meow, which really meant cheer up. You have something neither of your stepsisters has, and that is beauty. It was quite true. Cinderella, even dressed in old rags, was a lovely girl, while her stepsisters, no matter how splendid and elegant their clothes, were still clumsy, lumpy, and ugly, and always would be. One day, beautiful new dresses arrived at the house. A ball was to be held at the palace, and the stepsisters were getting ready to go. Cinderella didn't even dare ask if she could go too. She knew very well what the answer would be. You are staying at home to wash the dishes, scrub the floors, and turn down the beds for your stepsisters. They will come home tired and very sleepy. Cinderella sighed. Oh dear, I'm so unhappy. And the cat murmured, meow. Suddenly, something amazing happened. As Cinderella was sitting all alone, there was a burst of light and a fairy appeared. Don't be alarmed, Cinderella, said the fairy. I know you would love to go to the ball, and so you shall. How can I, dressed in rags? Cinderella replied. The fairy smiled. With a flick of her magic wand, Cinderella found herself wearing the most beautiful dress she had ever seen. Now, for your coach, said the fairy. A real lady would never go to a ball on foot. Quick, get me a pumpkin. Oh, of course, said Cinderella, rushing away. Then the fairy turned to the cat. You bring me 7 mice and remember they must be alive. Cinderella soon returned with the pumpkin and the cat with 7 mice he had caught in the cellar. With a flick of the magic wand, the pumpkin turned into a sparkling coach and the mice became 6 white horses, while the 7th mouse turned into a coachman in a smart uniform and carrying a whip. Cinderella could hardly believe her eyes. You shall go to the ball, Cinderella, but remember, you must leave at midnight. That is when my spell ends. Your coach will turn back into a pumpkin and the horses will become mice again. You will be dressed in rags and wearing clogs instead of these glass slippers. Do you understand? Cinderella smiled and said, Yes, I understand. Cinderella had a wonderful time at the ball until she heard the first stroke of midnight. She remembered what the fairy had said, and without a word of goodbye, she slipped from the prince's arm and ran down the steps. As she ran, she lost one of her slippers, but not for a moment did she dream of stopping to pick it up. If the last stroke of midnight were to sound, oh, what a disaster that would be! Out she fled and vanished into the night. The prince, who was now madly in love with her, picked up the slipper and said to his ministers, Go and search everywhere for the girl whose foot this slipper fits. I will never be content until I find her. So the ministers tried the slipper on the foot of every girl in the land until only Cinderella was left. Suddenly, the fairy appeared and waved her magic wand, and at last Cinderella appeared in a splendid dress, shining with youth and beauty. Her stepmother and stepsisters gaped at her in amazement, and the minister said, Come with us, Cinderella, the prince is waiting for you. So Cinderella married the prince and lived happily ever. Cinderella. And the story is end. How do you think about the story, Dennis?
Mommy, can I have more?
You want one more story?
Please.
What do you want me to tell you? What do you want me to tell you?
Red Riding.
Okay, I will. Searching a Little Red Riding Hood. Okay. Just be patient.
But first, can I have
Yeah.
Huggy?
Huggy mommy, please. Huggy.
Huggy.
I love you so much. Mama sayang banget sama kakak. Abis cerita tentang Little Red Riding Hood, bobo ya.
Okay.
Oke. Mami cari dulu ya. Jadi lagi bobo. And the second story is about Little Red Riding Hood, guys.
Mommy, can I?
Pakai bahasa Inggris atau bahasa Indonesia? Tadi bahasa Inggris, sekarang bahasa Indonesia ya?
No, English with a Red Riding Hood book.
Okay. Slip.
Book.
Yes. No. I have the story in my phone.
I like the girl.
Okay. Oh.
Did I see it? I didn't see it.
Okay. Di sini ya, biar kelihatan ya. Once upon a time, there was a lovely little girl called Little Red Riding Hood. She had this name because her grandma gave her a little Red Riding Hood, and she wore it every day. Her grandmother loved her very much. One day, her mother said to her, Little Red Riding Hood, please take this basket of food to your grandmother. Be careful on the way and do not leave the path. Do not worry, Mom. I'll be careful, said Little Red Riding Hood to her mother, and set out on the way to her grandmother's. Her grandmother lived in a village on the other side of the wood.
Cottage.
As Little Red Riding Hood entered the wood, a wolf met her. She She had never seen a wolf before, so she didn't know they were dangerous. "Good day, Little Red Riding Hood. My name is Wolf. Nice to meet you." "Hi, Wolf. Nice to meet you too." "Where are you going, Little Red Riding Hood?" "To my grandmother's house." "Where does she live?" "She lives in the village on the other side of the woods over there." "It is the first house in the village," replied Little Red Riding Hood. The wolf walked next to Little Red Riding Hood and then said, "Look at those pretty flowers. Why don't you pick some for your grandmother?" Little Red Riding Hood looked and saw all the pretty flowers. She ran off the path and started picking a bunch of flowers for her grandmother. Meanwhile, the wolf ran straight to grandmother's house and knocked on the door. "Who is there?" "Little Red Riding Hood," replied the wolf. "I have some food for you. Please open the door." Grandmother opened the door. The wolf quickly jumped in and pushed grandmother into the closet. "Help! Please let me out!" cried grandmother. "Be quiet and stay in the closet." The wolf put on grandmother's dress, cap, and glasses and got into grandmother's bed. After Little Red Riding Hood had picked a big bunch of flowers, she finally arrived at grandmother's house. She saw the open door and called out, "Good morning!" But there was no answer. She slowly went into the bedroom and saw her grandmother lying in the bed, looking very strange. "Oh, grandmother," she said, "what big ears you have!" "All the better to hear you with, my child," was the reply. "But grandmother, what big eyes you have!" she said. "All the better to see you with, my dear," said the wolf. "But grandmother, what large hand you have!" "All the better to hug you with." "Oh, but grandmother, what a terrible big mouth you have!" "All the better to eat you with." The wolf jumped out of bed and wanted to eat Little Red Riding Hood. She shouted loudly and tried to run away. Just then, a hunter was passing the house. He heard Little Red Riding Hood's cry and went into the house. "Go away, wolf," said Hunter. He pulled out his bow and shot the wolf. The wolf ran away, and Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother lived happily ever after. Wow, it is a very interesting story. I think Little Red Riding Hood is a really brave girl.
Mom, can I have more, please?
No, honey. Tadi kan udah janji ceritanya 2. Tomorrow kamu besok sekolah loh. Nanti kamu terlambat. One more story, okay? What do you want me to tell you for the last story before
Snow
it's
White.
Snow White, okay. The Snow White story. Okay. Are you ready?
Okay.
Promise me, after I am telling you the last story, you will go to sleep, okay?
After that, later, I will read.
Shh. Are you ready?
Yes, Mom.
I'm gonna
But
start the
after
story.
that, at midnight, please tell me a 9 story.
Okay, tomorrow. The last story. Yeah, okay. A long time ago, a child was born to a queen and king, and she was called Snow White. When the queen died, the king married again. This new queen was wicked and hated Snow White. The queen gave orders that Snow White was to be treated as a servant. Snow White grew very beautiful, and one day a prince riding by saw her at work and fell in love with her. The queen was so beautiful too, and every day she asked her magic mirror, "Who is the fairest in the land?" And the mirror always answered, "You are the fairest one of all." But one day the mirror answered Snow White was the fairest in the land. And in a rage, the queen gave orders to one of her husband to take Snow White into the woods and kill her. The huntsman,
Can I have hug?
oh dear, hagi-hagi terus, kapan bobonya nih Nang?
Hug you.
Udah yuk bobo yuk.
But tell me
Aku udah ngantuk
more.
ngomong.
But tell me more stories about Snow White.
Habis ini aku mau bobo, aku ngantuk juga.
But I want Snow White.
Okay.
for me.
Oke, sekarang waktu kita bobo ya.
Okay.
Guys dulu, bye-bye dulu sama guys.
Bye-bye.
Guys,
Goodbye.
sekian bedtime story for Jenis hari ini. Terima kasih yang udah nonton. Sampai jumpa di video aku berikutnya. Jangan lupa di subscribe, di like, dan juga di komen ya guys. Bye bye. Udah ngantuk banget.